What's up, friends? Today we're checking out the new song by Kai. It's Rover. With this song, he's released a mini EP. Maybe I'll do a full reaction to that at some other point, but for now, we're just checking out the individual song, Rover. We'll be looking at this song from the perspective of a producer and songwriter. I'm really excited to listen to this song as I was a huge fan of his EP, Peaches. I think it's so good. And EXO in general is just, they're top tier. They're as good as you get in that K-pop world. Let's get into it. Loving the beginning. I really like that effect that they have. It sounds like it's a few filters on a vocal to make it sound lower and also have this kind of shift that goes on with it. Very cool. Very cool. Kind of building from that low end up. And in general, I think it's really cool when a song starts us out with a cool sound or a cool riff, just kind of introducing us to the song in a really interesting way. Loving the start of this song with the kick, doing a pretty simple pattern and that kick is real punchy. There's a lot of high-end frequency that's emphasized in the sound of that kick. It's not as much a thump as it is like a punch, like a bump, bop, 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 bop. There's also a bass, and then, of course, Kai's vocal. So we're a lot on the low end, and then Kai's doing this very restrained vocal, this real breathy. Which also, that breathiness adds a little bit of that high end, but the notes he's singing are on the low end. So we're starting with a very low end energy in terms of frequency range. Loving that bell-like synth they have going on. It reminds me of that instrument, that kind of like tapping metallic circular instrument. I think it's that, but with like a few filters on it. Has a really cool sound to it. Reminds me of the latest Skrillex album in terms of that. Adding in snares, adding in that instrument. And he's also singing with a little bit more energy at this point. It's a little less breathy, and the notes he's hitting are a little bit higher. So he's singing in a slightly higher register, his kind of standard register as a vocalist. Stop. Love that pre-chorus. Love those really tight harmonies. And we've taken away some of that low end. So we start with just like pure low end, and then we start to incorporate a more full sound, and then we cut off that low end. So it's adding this nice, really interesting shift in energy just within that first verse and pre-chorus. It's groovy. Love that rhythm. Adding that reggaeton rhythm in the chorus is so fun and so interesting. I love when reggaeton rhythms are placed in places where you wouldn't normally expect them. I think it's really intelligent for Kai and his team to use a reggaeton rhythm, because there is a really big Latin audience for EXO and for all K-pop, That South American audience is huge for this genre, and they will really recognize that reggaeton rhythm. It's a little faster than you might normally hear it in the reggaeton subgenre. I love when reggaeton rhythms are in interesting places, when Spanish rhythms are in places where you normally wouldn't expect them. We did that quite a bit on our latest EP, Decay, with my group Jack Jack. So, I like to see it in different places. It's cool. So this time he didn't do that very introduction part in terms of like the flow of the song, but he did kind of more of that that second part of the first verse before the pre-chorus, except this time he's really into that low vocal. And man, he has a sweet low vocal. It's so cool to hear. It's very, very seductive, very sexy, and paired with that impeccable dancing. I mean, Kai has to be one of the best dancers in the world. It creates this really, really interesting effect, a little off-putting, but also it's like the song itself is seducing us into it. Oh, I really like that build right there. The da 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 da. It's just like this kind of soft, like distorted clap, or like a really loud shaker. It just has this really interesting sound to it, maybe like a brush on a snare. Yeah, it's a cool percussive sound though, and I like how it has that kind of repeated thing until the song actually starts. That's kind of a borrowed technique from trap, where you'll hear a very fast rhythm on a single instrument before you go into a next part as kind of a transition. We use that as well in Jack Jack quite a few times. Cool to see in this song. Two things here that I want to point out. First, you have that kind of cool flute sound that is very typical to the reggaeton genre as well. So they are doing their research as they're mixing in these elements. Also, you're going to notice that primary hook in the chorus, because the chorus kind of has these two parts, the bum bum ba dum ba da da dum, which is very similar to, you know, other pop melodies. It's really cool. But then that main hook, the Rover, 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 is very much in that lower register. It's very sing-alongable. Like anyone can sing along to that. It's more rhythmic than it is melodic, so it's easy to remember. It's just like the bottom, 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 bum ba bottom, bottom, bottom. Anyone can do it after just like one listen. It's great. Really intelligent use right there.
Oh, baby, catch me if you can. Let's race, so stop.
Okay, going into that bridge, I see that same trend that we've seen throughout this song, going low to high, going more into that belt near the end, using that really interesting kind of bell-sounding metallic instrument, that circle thing, can't remember what it's called, that we've heard throughout the song, as well as this really interesting snare that has a very like wooden sound to it, kind of like a block sound to it. Really loud in the mix, and I like it. I like where it sits in the mix. It creates this new interest. Like, we haven't heard something quite like that so emphasized in this song before now, so it's really cool to see it here brought in. Oh, I didn't expect anything to be after that chorus, and then when he keeps going, I was just caught off guard. That's awesome. This is a cool little riff. It's very like rappy. I feel like he's taking certain notes from Top, which is great because, I mean, Top's like one of the best rappers. I like how they strip away elements for that last chorus. They had that really big chorus with just like everything in it. The drums were a little bit more complicated, sticking still to that reggaeton rhythm and that reggaeton groove and vibe. But, you know, just had stacks of stuff on top of it. And then for this last chorus, they've stripped a lot of that away. And it sounds really cool to kind of like go back to basics. And, you know, there's not like the vamping, there's not like the choral stuff going on, there's not like the intense harmonies. It's just like his vocal, you know, with like maybe a double on top of it. Doing that Rover, Rover, Rover. Great song. Man, am I a sucker for some good old-fashioned Kai. He's a gem. He is quite the gem. I hope you've enjoyed this little breakdown and reaction, and I hope that it has given you some further insight into the song, help you enjoy the song a little bit more than you already did. If it has, I'd really appreciate if you liked, commented, shared, and subscribed. Please check out my EP Decay from Jack Jack. If you like this, you'll probably enjoy that music as well. Thanks so much. Catch on the flip.
Yeah, fixed to failure. Someone please hold my